I was going to do a podcast last week, but then the thing at the Capitol happened, so I was like, oh, you know what? I think we can wait on the fucking podcast front here. So I decided to put it off until this week, so I can kind of talk about everything that happened last week. It's been kind of an interesting week for very, very obvious reasons. Last week was probably the second most important week in my lifetime, that being like second to 9/11, being the first most important big thing that's ever happened in my lifetime. This was pretty close. The storming of the Capitol was obviously a pretty big deal. I don't really want to go into it too terribly much because it's kind of old news at this point. But what isn't old news at this point is Donald Trump's impeachment. You guys may have seen the video, might not have. I am fully in support of impeaching Donald Trump. I think it is the right move. I think we need to get him out of office as fast as possible as to avoid anything else that he might do that's crazy. Whether it be pardoning people that have worked for him, that have done some shady, corrupt shit, or just maybe inciting more violence. He technically didn't on a legal sense. Here's the thing about the impeachment thing. Legally speaking, Donald Trump did not incite violence at all. He absolutely did not. In fact, I would say that he did the opposite. He encouraged peaceful protests. He encouraged marching peacefully, not harming anybody. However, that certainly did not happen. That certainly didn't happen. And you can definitely blame Donald Trump for rising tensions, escalating the situation, so to speak. That is certainly on the fault of Donald Trump. And I would even go so far as to say, on a practical level, Donald Trump is responsible for this, but on a legal level, I definitely don't think he is. I don't think you can get away with that one. And that is their main article of impeachment was, yeah, we're going to get him on incitement of violence. And that's I mean, it's going to work in the House. Obviously, they've already passed it, I do believe. I think the House has already voted to impeach Donald Trump again, making him the first president in American history to get impeached twice. And if he doesn't get convicted, he will be the only president to get impeached twice and not convicted. So even more fun stuff going on right there. So that'll be pretty interesting. Although if he does, it's kind of like, oh, whatever. He got impeached twice. And I think that technically also makes him the first convicted impeachment president, which would be really interesting as well. But we're living in a time where major historical events just keep happening left and right. And honestly, I don't care who the fuck you are. I really don't care left or right kind of thing. But you gotta admit, Donald Trump is responsible for a lot of historical events, good and bad. Mainly bad, if you ask me personally, but a lot of good and bad. And there are some good things. He would probably tout the record job height and growth and whatnot. Unemployment rates are really high, or were really high before COVID. But even then, can you really put that on Trump? Can you really, you can't really say that's the cause of any one president. I really don't think it is. It's because my country is doing well, I'll take credit for it. It's no, you didn't fucking make that. You're not the reason that these companies are doing well. They have multiple reasons as to why they're doing well. It wasn't because of you. These companies weren't doing bad under Obama because of how he ran things, which, I mean, granted, his way of building back was slow and steady, and Trump built off the coattails of that. And that's kind of what to be expected. Any president would build off the coattails of that because it's kind of what they would have to do because you're coming out of a recession. So obviously the momentum is going to pick up, although I think some people, maybe economists, would argue that Trump picked up the momentum exponentially compared to how Obama did it. But that's, I wouldn't blame Bush for the recession. I wouldn't blame Obama for the recession in 2008. I wouldn't blame anybody. Obviously wouldn't blame Obama. But I wouldn't blame Obama to say that the economy came back not fast enough. That is subjective. You can believe that if you want. I just personally disagree with you. I think building back slower is probably the better way to do things. Probably better because it leads to more secure, what's the word here? It leads to a more secure economy. As we've seen with things like COVID, an economy can crumble quickly. Very, very quickly. So it's good to kind of build up slowly, make sure everything works the way we want it to, not kind of slip through the cracks and allow billionaires to get away with some shady shit, which I imagine we still will have under Biden. I don't think Biden's going to crack down on the billionaires. However, it's good, I think, in my opinion, to build back slowly. I don't see the advantages of just building it up fast, which, as we've seen, really just ends up meaning that the rich people get richer and the poor people get richer, but extremely slowly compared to the rich people. You see, it's the rich people, if they were getting rich at 2 times the average rate of a poor person, normal at any given time of a decent economy, you take Trump's economy and then that number goes up to 4. I don't know. I'm just spitting out numbers here. I don't actually know these things, but you can kind of see what I'm going for. The income gap, the wealth gap is getting larger every single day. It's definitely not shrinking. I think the ideal thing would be to see it shrinking a little bit. I mean, you obviously don't want that shrinking completely because then it means that everyone just makes the same amount of money and then nobody's happy because we're all making the same shit and there's no competition in that. Why even push harder if I can't get better than my neighbor? Competition's good. It's important to have competition. You need to have a fair competition. And when you have people who are getting richer way too fast, as compared to the poor people who can't catch up and probably never will because they're either A, not smart enough to do it, or they don't have that fucking golden ticket fucking idea in their back pocket. It's just not going to happen. People are just going to be left behind. So it is good to try to close that gap. It is good to try to sort of reach a wealth gap that is smaller and not keep growing wider. But anyway, let's go back to impeachment here for a minute. There are some Republicans actually in favor of impeachment, which I actually saw this happen. Like I kind of knew this was going to happen as soon as the Capitol riots took place and whatnot. I think everyone kind of knew that some of these Republicans were going to like suddenly fucking turn and be like, no, we're not going to support Trump after this, which maybe it's not really turning. Maybe it's just like in lieu of new facts and new events, we can't support this president. I think even Mitch McConnell, the Speaker of the Senate, I don't know, there's no Speaker of the Senate, he's the Senate Majority Leader, my bad, is all for impeaching Trump. And that's so fucking crazy to me that like, wow, really Mitch McConnell, the Republican Senate leader, is going to be against Trump on this, which I mean kind of makes sense. I mean you've even seen fucking Mike Pence going against Trump, and there are reports now looking like Trump basically asked Pence to overturn the election. It was either I think I don't remember who told me this or where I fucking heard it, but it was either be a patriot or be a pussy. So there you go. I think I actually might have heard that from Ben Shapiro. So take it with a fucking grain of salt. It's Ben Shapiro, although he said P word again because it's Ben Shapiro and he'll say P word. It's hilarious. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this shit has been going on. And yes, I do watch conservative media. That is proof right there. That is a quote, I think, from either today's episode of The Ben Shapiro Show or yesterday's episode of The Ben Shapiro Show. So yes, I do watch conservative media. I make sure that I watch both sides of the spectrum. I think, I don't know if I've said it before, but I absolutely love NPR, and I listen to NPR radio whenever I get the chance because I love it. I think it's the least biased news network out there. And it's hard to find one that isn't. I think CNN is shit. I think the Washington Post is shit. I think the New York Times is shit. I think Fox News is terrible. The Daily Wire is also fucking terrible. I know I just said I watched Ben Shapiro, but like, have you ever read a Daily Wire article? Have you ever read one? Like, the only show on the Daily Wire that I think is actually even remotely worth your time is the Ben Shapiro Show. And that's not even, like, if you're not conservative or even centrist, you shouldn't even watch it because it's just going to piss you off. And I'm fairly centrist, center-left, and it doesn't even really piss me off. It's just like, okay, I've been watching Ben for years. At this point, it's like, I know what Ben's about. I understand Ben's positions. He might be an idiot sometimes. I mean, we all are. But you think, I mean, Ben being a fucking Harvard law graduate, that he would be a little bit better. But I think he does know his stuff on law. I mean, he was right about all this impeachment stuff. So that's pretty good, Ben. Good job, buddy. Maybe you can get working on that global warming opinion of yours. Maybe that would be a good idea, bud. No, but I absolutely love watching conservative media because it's a good thing to always know what the opposition thinks, and that's so important to understand people who disagree with you. Now, another media that I actually hate on the left is the fucking Young Turks. I think they're terrible. I think they're grifters. Less so, like, not compared to like someone like Caitlyn Bennett. You know, obviously Caitlyn Bennett's a lot smaller, but she is 100% a fucking grifter. Piece of shit lady. Does it for the money. I think, at least. It's my opinion. I'm not saying it as a fact. I'm not here to fucking tell you that she is doing it for a fact. For those of you who don't know, she's the girl who went around to like many different like liberal rallies, let's call them, and then would just tout that she has guns. I think there was like one woman who was like really mad at her one time, and she's like, I carry, right? I carry. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you threatening her? Like, are you threatening the woman because she's mad at you? Are you threatening that you're gonna fucking shoot her? Or is it like a warning, like, oh, you should back off, I have a gun? Like, no, that's borderline a threat. I mean, I don't think you get convicted of a threat in court. Like, I don't think you get in trouble for that. But like, Jesus Christ! I mean, if you have to go, like, if your first reaction to being insulted, I guess, or even yelled at is, I carry, right? You're not good at arguing. You're not good at debating. If all you do is go up to people and spit, quote, facts and logic in their face while just touting fucking conservative news, you're not good at it. When you just bait people into these useless debates, you're not good at what you do, and you're a fucking liar. And I really do mean that. I absolutely do. Again, I don't like her content, and I'm allowed to have that opinion. If you like Caitlyn Bennett, which I don't think anybody here really does, but I mean, if you do, sorry, I don't, never have, never will. No, but it's been so, like, politics for me has been so interesting because I've been learning more and more about it since I was like fucking 16. When I was 16, actually 15 technically speaking, when I started, but I was pretty much 16. It was like a month or two away. My sophomore year, I got into a class called Current Issues, which a class called Current Issues is ripe for political debate. We covered things like abortion, we covered things like the Second Amendment, fun stuff like that. It was a really good class. We got to see a lot of differing opinions, which is kind of shocking from like in an area that is mostly conservative farm boys doing their thing. It's kind of nice to see like a wide variety of opinions. Although at that time, I happened to be the facts don't care about your feelings kind of fucking conservatard kind of dude. Yeah, that was me. And actually, I can remember, like when we did the abortion one, I did my whole speech on. I did a presentation. And the question was asked, when do you believe life starts? And I was like, I don't know, at the heartbeat. I really don't know. And that's the thing. It's like the problem with the class, like current issues, and I mean no disrespect to my high school teacher that did it or the school in general. I mean no disrespect. The problem with a class like that is you're essentially asking a student to come up with a formulated opinion on a political topic that they know nothing about because, again, they're 16 in a week, if not less. That is their job. And it's kind of like, okay, so you want someone who has no experience in anything political to understand politics, talking about things like the wage gap while having no understanding of it, and that's just stupid. You can't expect these kids to do a good job. And in fact, actually, funny enough, in contrast to that, my senior year of high school, I went as far as to make a presentation for a completely different class. I think it was like an English class of some kind. We had to make a persuasive presentation. I did it on finding good news sources and avoiding political bias, and I got a 49 out of 50. The 1 point was taken off because my English teacher said I spoke a little too fast a couple times. But I can actually specifically remember him, I remember looking over at him, and his eyes were just wide fucking open, just staring at me, like staring into my soul, not in a bad way, but just kind of he's actually doing a good job. And I was never a bad student, but it was just interesting to see my English teacher actually invested in what I was talking about, because I not only grabbed the attention of a few of my classmates, which I'm sure I did. I'm sure I activated at least one student politically in there, but it got the attention of my teacher, who was like a 40-year-old man. So that was pretty neat. And I mentioned things like CNN, Fox News, places like that, your standard typical places of media, and really trying to avoid political bias. And I hit it home with the idea that you, as a teenager at the age of 17, 18, some of us were, you should absolutely care about politics. It is so undeniably important. It is one of the most important things in your life, and you don't even know it. There's so much that goes into it. There's so much detail and tiny little things. People are going to be trying to butt fuck you. I didn't say that. People are going to be trying to butt fuck you from every which way to Sunday, and you need to be aware of how these things work. It's also good to know a little bit of basic law. Just to have some basic understanding of law when it comes to surrounding politics. It's very interesting, first of all. I absolutely love learning this stuff. I think it's so fucking fun to learn about law. If I had the money and the fucking willpower, I think I probably would have gone to law school. I think I would have become a lawyer. Now, I would have hated law school because everybody who's ever been to law school says it's absolutely awful, and I am absolutely sure I would have been. I'm absolutely sure it would have been awful, but that is to say, I think I would have been a decent lawyer. I think I've always had a knack for talking. Obviously, I've been talking for 13 minutes already. I've always had a knack for talking, so I think I could just naturally talk about shit and formulate decent enough sentences that kind of get the point across. But see, as a lawyer, you would actually study these things and know how to speak and formulate an argument properly. So I think law school would be good. Even in high school, my senior year, I took a speech class, how to give presentations and how to give speeches and shit. And I bought a textbook for that class. Didn't need to buy the textbook. I kept it. I still have it. I don't read it, but it's hey, if I ever need to give a big speech for some reason, I have a fucking textbook that can tell me exactly how to do it. And doing that was really fun. That class was a lot of fun because I got to do something I actually enjoyed doing. And I really mean that. I absolutely loved going up and talking in front of people. I absolutely loved it. I mean, sure, I was a little bit nervous because it's a little bit different when the people in the room with you are people who know you and they will judge you for what you do. Whereas it's a bunch of fucking strangers, I don't care. If when I did theater in high school, I didn't give a fuck. I didn't care who was in the audience, because at that point it's okay, I know that a lot of it, some of the people, they're probably my schoolmates and whatnot, but most of it's they're the kids' parents, because let's face it, these kids aren't actually good at acting, but none of us really were, but it's they're still there to see it. And I loved theater, I really did. But my point being is that doing things in front of a live audience was always something that I really fucking cherished. And then when it was time to give presentations on politics, oh boy, I was into it, man. I was into it quick. The only class I wish I would have done a little bit differently in high school was probably American music history, because there were a couple of presentations in there where like you get to write your own blues song and perform it in front of the class. I didn't. I did write one. I didn't sing it. I didn't play guitar. If I could do it now, I absolutely would have sung it and would have played guitar in there, no matter how shitty it sounded, you know. But like even back then, I didn't think I had the skill to do it, which I don't think I would have back then. I don't think I would have been good enough to actually play it and sing it at the same time. I mean, I guess I could have really just stolen a friend from a different class, which knowing my high school, I definitely could have gotten away with, like having a kid like, hey, go ask your teacher if I can borrow you for a class next week. And it would have probably worked, to be honest with you. But I never ended up following through with it. Granted, that class that he was in, I think it was either an art class or some shit like that. So, I mean, it wouldn't have been like a big deal. Or our teacher was pretty laid back. And I think on the particular day that I had to do it, it was probably going to be like a free day. The art teacher would have like a free day, I think like once every week, which was a Friday. But we had A and B classes, so if you know anything about how A/B systems work, it's days alternate, different classes, 4 classes per day. A days are 4 classes, B days are 4 different classes. So you do the logic there. There'll be an A day Friday one week and a B day Friday the next week. So you kind of understand where that's going with that logic. You know, every other week you'd have a free day in art class, which is pretty neat. Like as a student, that was pretty nice, because like if you were falling behind on a project, you could absolutely hurry the fuck up and get it done on that free day Friday. You absolutely could. But if you didn't have anything to work on, you were just like, I'm good. Or you didn't have to work on your project either. Like, he was just like, you don't have to, unless you were like really far behind. Unless then he'd get up your ass. You need to actually work on this. It's a free day for everyone else except for you, because you fucked up and you're taking too long. Like I was doing a mosaic with another kid, good guy from high school, and we were taking too long on it. And it wasn't like we were like distracted and doing other things. It was just like taking the little fucking pieces of fucking magazines and then like pushing them onto the fucking paper with the shitty fucking glue. Took forever, and I hated it. I did not understand how people were going faster than us. I did not get it. I think we were a group of 2 and everyone else was like a group of 3 or so. It was absolutely awful. I fucking hated it. I hated mosaics. I will never do another one. I hated that project for obvious reasons. I thought it was a really shitty project. But no, like, the opportunity to learn is so important. Like, my senior year of high school, I took, on A days, again, 4 classes that day, it was all band classes. It started with jazz band, and then I would peer tutor for 2 different class periods for the little kids that would come through. And then the final hour of the day was the actual band class, like pep band, concert band, or whatever, whatever it would be at the time. Or marching band even, and that was always super fun. My favorite thing to do in the morning was come in early, just a little bit early, and just start playing on the bass, just do my fucking thing, exactly like that, and just playing. And when you're in a jazz band like that, you start to like build up relationships with people, because you learn things, you get into a groove with people. And I wish I had done it my junior year. I wish I would have gone in my junior year, because I absolutely loved it my senior year. It was my favorite class, because it was the only class where I could like be creative. And granted, I was a bass player, so like what creativity was there in terms of playing jazz bass lines? But it turns out there's actually quite a bit, because we did like some like rock stuff too. It wasn't like Led Zeppelin kind of rock. It was more like Here Come the Mummies kind of rock, but they were more like a funk group. So you kind of get what I'm going for here. Big band kind of stuff. Think like what's his name? He did Jump Jive and Wail. Oh fuck, can't remember his name. But if you guys know the song, you know who I'm talking about. I can't remember his fucking name. Whatever, kind of like that band kind of style of things. Pretty big band stuff, and I loved it. We did stuff like that. And then we also did like jazzy classics and shit. We did Whiplash. That's a joke. No, we didn't. That would have been kind of badass though, if we could pull off Whiplash. I can't really remember names of a lot of the songs that we did, but like I can remember like playing them. I didn't really pay too much attention to the names. It was always just like, we're gonna play it and we're gonna learn about it. We're gonna listen to it. We're gonna learn about how the song works and whatnot, and we're gonna learn about like the original artist maybe a little bit. And it's like, that's really fucking cool. And I absolutely love jazz band. And looking at it now, it's like if I could like contact the people, and I probably could, but that's assuming like this is on one big caveat to this whole thing. If I could contact these people and start a band again, like a jazz band with like my old high school buddies, I totally fucking would. And that caveat that is based on is that they all still play music, and I know that some of them don't. Like, I know that one of them is about to have a kid, and it's like, holy shit, so everyone's lives are changing, and it would be so absolutely difficult to have that happen. But I mean, hell, at the high school 10-year reunion, if anyone still fucking plays music, you can bet your ass I'm gonna get the jazz band involved in that shit, dude, because like it's so important to have music, and I absolutely love music. And speaking of music, guys, I've like over the past week I've written some more music. I put up a song on the YouTube channel by my little band Citrus. It's a bluesy song, you know. I mean, this was like one of those things like we just kind of wrote on a whim, you know. It was just in the little studio that day. We were like, well, I've been fucking around in C minor for a while, so let's just start playing these. And you can kind of hear my guitar player kind of go at it. And he doesn't have like any music theory knowledge, which I'm not saying that to like discredit him at all, not at all. But like you can kind of hear that. But like toward the end of that recording, you can hear him start getting to the groove of it. You can hear him like really understanding what's going on. But at first, you can kind of hear him struggle with that. And if you listen to our other songs, you know he's not a bad guitar player. He's absolutely great. He's phenomenal. But like when it comes to like, hey, here's the chords that are in the C minor scale, he's just like, what? I don't know what any of that means. I'm like, you don't know what a D diminished is? And he's like, no. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. Granted, most people around here probably would. Most people in general wouldn't know that kind of shit. Wouldn't know, like, what different fucking chords go into the C minor scale. Or any scale, for that matter. And that's just like, and here's the thing, I didn't learn that from jazz band. And you would think that like in a jazz band class, it would be important to learn like chord structures and progressions and different keys and all that fun shit. But no, I really didn't. And in fact, most of my music theory knowledge just comes from me just learning it on my own. You know, just sitting back, like, on YouTube, watching free music theory courses and shit. That's how I learned it, you know, that's how I learned all this stuff. And it really told me I didn't need to go to music school to do it, and I would still like to go to music school, you know, take some music classes on music theory and whatnot, and composition. I thought about signing up for some Berkeley online classes of music theory and composition, because I thought it'd be really good for my education, learning with my brain. It only cost me like fucking $15,000, yay. But I really wanted to, because it was so important to me to learn, and it still is. And I recently just bought another bass. I ended up buying myself a Fender Player Series Jaguar bass. The guy who had it before me, he bought it for a gig, and then the gig never happened, and so he just kind of had it. He never went out with it, he never did anything with it, just kind of stayed in his house. He'd play it from time to time, and I was like, dude, that's my fucking, like, I love the Jaguar bass. That is my favorite Fender body style on the basses. It is absolutely my favorite Fender body style, because it's so unique. Like, everyone's seen a jazz bass, everyone's seen a P bass. It's like, no. The fucking Jaguar bass is so fucking unique. It's a P bass and jazz bass combo, essentially. You got the P bass pickup in the front, you got the jazz bass pickup in the back, you have a jazz bass neck, but you have a weird fucking Jaguar body that's totally different. It's offset like a fucking a jazz bass is, but then it doesn't have like a bottom horn. You know, jazz basses have two horns on them. If you don't, this is very confusing, but you can go to fender.com and then go under the bass tab and then hit jazz bass. You'll see what I mean. And then you go over to that same tab, you hit Jaguar bass. You'll see what I mean. I ended up getting a blue one. It's really pretty. It comes in the mail on Monday, and I'm very, very excited for it. But yeah, I recently got that because I've been playing with my PRS, and I love my PRS bass. I absolutely do. But it's like, I have an opportunity to get a Fender, like a real Fender, you know, and I want that. You know, I really like Fender. I like Fender stuff. Now, granted, I like G&L more, which, if you don't know what G&L is, it's the Leo Fender is the guy that made Fender. He went to work with Music Man. I think he founded Music Man, actually. I'm not entirely sure. But then he went to start his final company, G&L, with George Fullerton, and that was kind of like his magnum opus of guitar making before he passed away. So G&L is what I would call like Leo Fender's absolute best guitar company when it comes to his designs and whatnot, because he perfected models like the Stratocaster. He absolutely perfected the things going on there, even, you know, adding on to it with things like the the Comanche, you know, maybe the Skyhawk a little, you know, just different things, like adding on to different fucking body styles that he already made, you know. And that's awesome. That is exactly what it was. And like even now they're still doing cool stuff. Like I think GNL, like within the past couple of years, came out with a new bass style that was called the Kiloton. It's just a passive one humbucker bass. It's pretty much what you would expect a fucking Stingray bass to be, which is also a Leo Fender design, but it's just passive, and I love that. Because, like, passive basses, to me at least, I think passive basses are fucking cool. I hate the idea of having an active bass because I'm like, I really don't have to worry about a fucking battery going out. I really don't have to worry about that. Granted, I see the advantages and the upsides to having an active bass, but I'm just like, nah, I just want to plug it in and play it. And I know that, like, the American Standard Jaguars were active, and they had a bunch of fancy controls on them and shit, but I have a Player Series Jaguar, so it's, you know, it's a little bit cheaper, but it's like, damn, it's still good. It's still a Fender. But in the future, once I get the money, like, I'll probably spend a couple grand on a good G&L, because I think G&L absolutely makes better instruments than Fender. Like, G&L runs their whole company like a fucking custom shop. You know, you can get any finish you want with any fucking neck you want, any goddamn pickups you want, the body style, it doesn't fucking matter. They'll do it. They don't care. They'll do it. And that's fucking cool, because what ends up happening is like you go on like Reverb or Musician's Friend, try to find used instruments, and it's like what you find is everybody has a different fucking instrument. You know, you might see like a green burst 5-string kiloton bass for sale just because. Granted, these are pretty expensive. Usually you find them for like around $1,500 for something like that, closer to $2,000. Usually you don't see them for above $2,000 though. It's pretty rare. Or you can even find one that's like fucking sparkly ass fucking red with like block inlays and a rosewood fucking fingerboard, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, dope. It's so cool. I love that about GNL. They absolutely do things really well. I mean, you can get the fucking necks in different finishes and shit. Great company. I fucking love them. It's what my dad uses. I use the GNL. In fact, my GNL JB, which is a jazz bass, JB jazz bass with Justin Bieber. No, I'm kidding. I donated it to the high school that I went to, because I was like, you know what? I've had this jazz bass. I love it. I want to give it to the high school because I absolutely loved jazz. I love jazz band. I loved band in general. I love my band director. He was a great guy. Still is a great guy. So I wanted to give it to him. So I did. And on the inside of the pickup, not the pickup guard, the pick guard, sorry. On the inside, I wrote when I bought it, and I think I wrote when I donated it. I could be wrong about the last part, but I know I put my name in there and when I bought it. So whenever someone takes off that pick guard, they'll see the date of when it was purchased on the inside, which I think I bought it in 2019. So it's a sunburst jazz bass with a kind of like a yellow kind of finish on the neck with it's a maple fingerboard and black block inlays, and it's been lined down the fucking fingerboard as well. It's beautiful, and it's a tribute series. It's an Indonesian model, and I think I bought it for like $550. So actually, that's what I bought the Jaguar for. I bought a Fender made in Mexico Jaguar bass for the same price that fucking jazz bass cost me. So I was like, I'm gonna fucking take this opportunity, because one of those Jaguar basses new, if you look right now, at least at the time of this recording, they're like fucking $700, dude. It's insane how fucking expensive they are. But yeah, I mean, if you're into music stuff, this has been a cool conversation. If you're not into music stuff, the last few minutes have probably been really fucking boring to you. So, what's new in the life of Gary, you might be wondering. You know, when are you ever going to start streaming Shovel Knight? I don't know. I was going to start doing it this Saturday. It'll probably be Sunday. But I was going to start doing this Saturday, but then I got invited over to dinner with my brother. So I was like, I can wait till Sunday, I guess. So Sunday, I do plan on actually starting the Shovel Knight live streams. And then, like, what's beyond Shovel Knight? What are you going to do after that? I'll probably, like, do something like Minecraft or, like, Celeste. You know, I don't like Minecraft. I hate Minecraft, but it's like, everybody likes to watch Minecraft, so you can watch me say words every 30 seconds. Like, no, okay, actually, you know, I take that back. I definitely won't be live streaming Minecraft. I know. See, like, the thing about Minecraft is, like, it's absolutely boring to watch somebody live stream Minecraft. And I don't mean, like, someone like Dream, who actually has, like, a community and hypes up stuff, you know, is really important, and has a big fan base and friends that'll actually do it with them to make it entertaining. I don't really have that. I mean, I do have friends that I can play Minecraft with, but it's just, like, do I really want to? I don't like the game as it is. Do I really want to have to, like, try to overhype it because it's fucking Minecraft? And I've said before that I don't ever want to be fake with you guys on this channel. You know, I just want to be me, and that's absolutely true. And I always will be. But in other news, in my life, I recently got a Huion, I don't actually know how to pronounce it, it's Huion, drawing tablet for my PC, and I fucking love it. I've been using Clip Studio. I haven't bought a license for it, so I've just been kind of using the free version and just kind of like learning to draw again on it. It's been really fun. Recently, I've been working on posing people. I've been working on getting the shoulder to hip ratio down for both males and females, and then trying to get like the bodies proportional, you know, like actually the way they're supposed to be. And that's been super fun. It's been difficult, because that's one of the hardest things to do, I think, is like actually learning how to pose people. And then I think also like getting perspectives down right. Like if you want to have someone like holding their hand up really close to the front of the picture and like their face in the background, it's very difficult to draw that thing because you have a lot of depth that needs to happen in such a short space on a flat fucking 2D, you know, image. It's very difficult to pull it off, and that would be cool to learn as well. The other thing is I don't mind doing hands. I don't like drawing hands. I don't like it that much, but it's like I think it's better than feet. I think feet are a bitch. I don't know why. I think feet are a bitch, and it's so hard for me to get the perspective on feet right. Like I could do hands. The hands may not look the prettiest, but like at least I can get like the perspective of the hands right. You can understand that like that is supposed to be a hand. It kind of looks like it's the right size and kind of the right place, but it's like the fingers might be a little bit weird, a little bit lopsided, whatever, you know. But it's like the feet. What direction are they supposed to be facing, and why do they look like nubs? It's difficult for me to get that down, but Nevertheless, I am learning to draw with it. It's been very, very fun. I've been drawing with friends online. We've been doing a lot of fun stuff. We just been like, we get on Drawpile, which is a little art program that you can draw with, and basically it allows you to draw with friends online and in real time, and they can draw with you and you can draw with them, and you just draw stuff. You can write little shit posts next to their stuff and have a good time with it. It's a lot of fun. I recommend getting Drawpile if you have a group of friends that likes art and you all have either. I mean, you can do it with the mouse. I did it with the mouse. It was awful. Never again. But I did it with the mouse for a short period of time. But no, when I was younger, I used to draw all the time. I mean, it was just one of those ways that I would like show my creative outlet. Like back when I was maybe 10 years old, I started like drawing like cartoon figures. And they were pretty easy to draw. Like it was really easy to draw like just basic ass cartoon figures that really weren't difficult. Like I could do stuff like what I did was I took like a mashup between like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the old 1980s Mario style, and then Big Nate, and then I would make characters out of it. And that sounds really, that's a weird combination, like Big Nate and fucking Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Like, okay, I could see that. I could see that kind of like, I can kind of see how that kind of works together. But like, if I could show it, I would. If you look at it, you could see how it works. And I had books of 4-panel comics. They were 4-panel comics. They were telling really short little stories, kind of like shit you'd see back in the newspapers in the 90s, but they were just 4 panels, and they would usually have like one really funny joke in it. That was kind of the whole premise of the thing. I used to I think when I was in grade school, I'd even pass these out to people, like, here's a funny comic I wrote, here you go, I printed these off, my mom didn't like it because I wasted a lot of ink for this, here you go, blah, blah, blah. And like other things I would do was like I would just like open up my folder, and like folders in school, they always had like a white like kind of cardboard paper kind of back to it, so it naturally being an empty canvas, oh god, like I would open up my fucking folder one day and just start like I draw a stick figure over here in the corner. I just kind of like, he's doing something, maybe he's like giving a lecture about something, and then like somewhere else I draw like a stick figure getting fucking stabbed in the throat for no fucking reason, and then another one behind him taking a lawnmower and trying to rail up his back with it, and then by the end of it, both sides of this folder, which was just a folder, and like I would hardly ever see it. Like, and it got to the point where like in the middle of the school year, when like I was starting to get dedicated to like drawing on it, it got to the point that like I would have to take all the fucking papers out of it, which sometimes was a lot of fucking papers, and like put them on the side of the desk and try to organize it. And if the desk was too small, put them on the fucking floor or something, and then start doodling. So it became kind of a bitch to do this. But by the time it was done, I just had this cavalcade of just stick figures and art on my fucking folder, and it was so cool. And this kind of manifested even into high school a little bit. Like if I had in art class, I had a notebook that I would like doodle ideas in and whatnot, or just smaller things. And I took that art notebook and I just doodled on the cover, doodled on the inside cover, just went fucking nuts in it, And that's so fucking cool, because like I think I still have a couple of the notebooks lying around. It's like I can still see the things that I drew when I was 12 or 15 or whatever. I think maybe around my junior or sophomore year of high school, I kind of slowed down in the writing, the drawing stuff. But I was also a pretty big fucking writer. Like in middle school, I took creative writing, and it was one of my favorite classes. It was just really fun to write and then see how other people wrote. And I don't want to say that I was necessarily great at it, but I mean, I think I did all right. I think I told interesting narratives. Like we would have different premises for different stories. Like, oh, today we're gonna do like a mystery story, and then or we're gonna like base it on a different novel from whatever fucking time period, and we're gonna try to like not copy it, but do something like that, and kind of go with the motif of some kind, And I would take that kind of stuff, and then I would mash like this long timeline of these interwoven stories that would go across these different motifs. And I did that because I was like, fuck it. I don't want to just write these random disconnected fucking stories, that have nothing to do with each other. I wanted to just write a bunch of stuff. And I was the only student ever in the history of the school to take creative writing twice. And they almost didn't let me do it. It was my 7th grade year I took it, and then my 8th grade year I took it again. They almost didn't let me do it. They're like, well, why not? It was just like, and what had actually ended up happening is the teacher that did it actually had to change up the formula for me. She actually had to change things up. And I had to do it under the condition that I would write all new stories again, and that I would write new things. And I did, and I really, really did. Now, in my 8th grade year, I got a little bit carried away. We started like taking the keys off the keyboard, like the little A key, the Q key, the G key, whatever. We take it off, like we can move it somewhere else. The fun one was to do the N and the M. So when the 5th graders would come in to fucking learn to type, they would have the keys wrong, and they'd fuck up. We ended up getting caught. We didn't get punished for it, but the creative writing teacher was like, well, guys, the 5th graders have been having a lot of hard time with their typing. And we noticed that a lot of the keys are misplaced. And you guys happen to be the class that come in right before it. Now, are you guys switching the keys out on the keyboard? No, nope, we're not doing that. It's just like, yeah, you fucking are. I can see it. You're 13. You don't hide shit from me. Fuck off. So that was always fun. I was always into like, writing and stuff like that. And I love my English classes. Absolutely. I think my best bonds in high school were with my, not bonds, but like teacher to student bonds were definitely with my English teachers. We had a lot of fun discussions. We had a lot of interesting talks. Particularly, that same English teacher I mentioned earlier in the podcast was talking about politics and that political presentation or whatever that I did. I peer tutored for him as a junior, and I peer tutored for a senior class. So that was pretty cool. I didn't end up taking that class as a senior. I ended up taking college classes instead. My high school had dual credit, they counted as both high school and college credits. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what that is by now. But in case you don't, now you know. The American education system sucks, and I breezed through high school because it wasn't even a challenge at all. I mean, honestly, American education is not a challenge. It's not hard to get through American high school. You could, look, in the American education system, if you know how to sign your goddamn name on a paper, you can get through it. If you know how to do that, you can do it. I promise. You might fail a couple classes here and there, but you're not gonna fucking flunk. Not gonna happen. You're not gonna flunk. You'll do fine. And I'm not saying that I flunked a few classes. Actually, I did flunk. Particularly in high school, I got better about not flunking classes. I got better about trying not to get any fucking Fs. By my senior year, I was working on having nothing but A's and B's. My junior year was pretty similar, except for fucking geometry. That was for a multitude of reasons. I failed geometry the last quarter. I just gave up. There was a lot of shit going on in my life at the time. My great grandmother passed away. The relationship I was in, I was 17. Don't judge me. The relationship I was in was going to shit. But you're 17. A lot of shit happens. You're really intense. So it's like, yeah, I'm not making excuses for myself, but I had a lot on my plate when I was fucking 17. Life was kind of shitty at the time. I didn't looking back at it retrospectively, it's like, no, life was not bad. It really wasn't. I was just being a big baby and I was in a lot of stress. But now that I'm an adult, I'm like, yeah, that was pretty fucking stupid. I really shouldn't have fucking flunked geometry. And now, if I could take geometry again, but kind of for fun, I would do it and I would love it. I would absolutely love it because it's so fun to learn. And that's at the end of the day, that's what the podcast is all about. Learning, sharing ideas, sharing topics, doing things, I don't know, eating ass, whatever you're into, I don't really care. And that's the whole thesis anyway. That's the end of the podcast. Bye.